It turns out she has a lot to learn. Even a nonprofit transgender rights organization in need of a storyteller recently passed her over, a transgender storyteller, for another transgender storyteller with flashier credentials. That's a pretty special level of fail, if you think about it. So the Afghan kebab house it is, a job where she spends more money than she makes, thanks to the endless car repairs, but one where the boss hired her after 2 interview questions. You speak fluent English? That's good. Can you start Monday? She got this gig and one other, a part-time reporting job for a local paper in Rockville, Maryland, offered by an editor who told her during the interview, "Why the fuck would you want to work here? This job pays for shit." She works 7 days a week and has missed out on 5 months worth of weekends with her partner and stepdaughter, because that's what happens when you're a lazy millennial with a BA working 2 jobs without benefits. This woman has dreamed of ditching it all to become a full-time touring musician, but that dream is on its last legs too. She's been a fixture on the local metal scene for a long time, but transitioning as a live musician hasn't just been scary. It has involved her trying to figure out on the fly who she is on stage. Usually, metal chicks work that out as goth teenagers, but when you're in your early 30s, you can only slather on so much fake tortured eyeliner before it creeps its way into your crow's feet. Her friends have all been cool with her transition, but now that her voice isn't holding up live, in fact, it's becoming more and more timid, she finds herself losing confidence. Meanwhile, her band hasn't been practicing much, and the gigs are far and few between since both Jack's and Ball's Bluff Tavern, the 2 staples of the Northern Virginia metal scene, closed. The dream isn't just slipping, it's on a glide path out the door. On top of it all, this woman happens to live in a country where Donald Trump is about to accept the Republican presidential nomination, and 49 LGBTQ people and their allies have just been shot to death at Pulse nightclub in Orlando. The morning after the Pulse shooting, she drove, completely dazed, around Arlington and Georgetown, sobbing her way through deliveries as NPR reported a seemingly endless increasing body count, fighting to maintain a stoic face every time she handed a plastic bag of lamb and lentils to someone whose rent for their 2-bedroom apartment cost far more than she would make that month. This poor woman is crying, a lot, and not just because of the terrible shift in the political climate feels unstoppable. She lives in Virginia, where at the start of the 2016 Virginia General Assembly session, a few months before she started the kebab job, Republican state delegates filed 9 anti-LGBTQ bills, the most in any state legislature in the country. She's been trying to assume a more activist role in our community, carving out a few mornings a week to go down to Richmond and talk to legislators about voting against these awful bills. Despite her efforts, she's feeling pretty pessimistic. While in Richmond, she doesn't even bother talking to her own state legislator. He's a right-wing fixture as permanent as the Lost Cause Confederate statues in her hometown. This man, Bob Marshall, was first elected to office in 1991 when she was just 7 years old. During her first year as a working journalist in 2006, he proudly declared to the Washington Post that he was Virginia's, quote, chief homophobe, end quote. That same year, he authored a state constitutional amendment to ban all legal recognition of same-sex couples, and Virginia voters approved it, passing it by 13 percentage points. 10 years later, the man hasn't shifted course at all. He's authored 2 of the 9 anti-LGBTQ bills she's protesting. Every January, as Marshall and the rest of the state legislature converge on Richmond for the opening session, she asks herself, which of my civil rights am I going to lose this year? What this sad-ass woman doesn't realize, though, is that today, August 4th, 2016, when she gets home from work, she's going to get an email. This email will impart a lesson she'll never forget. Life can change in an instant, even if said instant involves no material transformation, no births or deaths, or sudden financial windfalls. Instead, what it does is shift this woman's self-perception, the way she's been connecting the dots of her life into a bigger story. A new picture emerges in her mind. She's no longer Danica the inadequate failure, Danica the dead end. Instead, she's standing at a turning point, the moment when her story becomes the origin story I now recognize as my own. The email is from Dawn Shaw, the Democratic nominee who ran against Bob Marshall in 2015 and abandoned a plan to run a second time in 2017. By that point, we had met many times over the course of my recent activism work. His email is short and poses a quick question. You live in the 13th. Have you given any thought to running against Marshall? You'd make a fantastic candidate. Winky face. My inner Ralph Wiggum is the first to read.